Hey friends, welcome to day 4 of the 21 days of fearless living. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how we don't have to fear any evil because we know God is our shepherd. And as always, I'm going to give a challenge and a moment of prayer at the end of our devotional. So stay tuned to the end. And of course, like and share this content. So on our first 3 days, we have talked about what it means to live without fear, live with confidence and courage in all of life's circumstances. We looked at Mark chapter 4, and we talked a little bit about how the disciples were fearful in the midst of the storm because they didn't realize who it was that was with them, that Jesus was in the boat, and that when we know that God is with us, we can be free from fear in every kind of difficult circumstance. And in day 2, we talked about how that's what the Moravians realized. John Wesley saw them singing in the midst of the storm as they were caught in a torrential gale as they were crossing the Atlantic, and he noted that they were free from the fear of death. What a remarkable testimony that they were able to sing in the midst of the storm. And then we find in the book of Acts when Paul and Silas at the midnight hour have been beaten and thrown into the deepest prison, had their feet and their hands shackled, they were able to sing in the midst of a very fearful and challenging situation. And because of their communion, their fellowship with God, and their courage, when the chains fell off and the prison doors opened, they were able to stay as a testimony to the prison guard and spare his life. And so they had courage, and in that situation, it resulted in their salvation because they understood that their eternity was secure in God, and they were not afraid to face death. And so today in day 4, I want to talk a little bit out of Psalm 23, a passage that we are very familiar with, but I want to frame it in a little different way. And so I'm going to read to us from the 23rd Psalm. This is a Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, and I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So why was David able to say that he was living without fear in the midst of the darkest valley, the most challenging place? And I think it was because David, when he faced, as a warrior, he faced challenging situations. We, of course, know the story of David as a boy facing off against Goliath. And in many battles, because David was a warrior king, he had to confront situations that were death-defying situations. But David, who was a shepherd, and he understood that he was, because God had spoken this to him, that he was selected from among God's people because he carried the same shepherd heart as God. David understood as a shepherd the responsibility of the shepherd to protect the flock. And that's what he describes here. He says, I'm not going to fear in the darkest valley, in the shadow of death. I'm not going to have any fear because your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, the rod and the staff were two different shepherding implements. One was the shepherd's crook. That's the one that you see that is a hooked staff. And then you have a rod that a shepherd would carry. And the crook staff was used to actually guide the sheep and pull them out of briars and pull them out of situations that were dangerous. And then the rod was actually used as like an offensive weapon to beat back wolves or predators. And so one is a crooked shepherd's staff, the staff, and then the rod. And both of these are representative of the holistic care of the shepherd to both protect and to also guide and lead. And so what David is saying is that even in the hardest situations of life, I'm not going to be afraid because I know you're protecting me, I know you're guiding me, and I know that you're able to deliver me from even the most dangerous of situations. And so knowing who God is, that's the premise of this entire series, is what gives us the ability to be free from all the different fears of life. And so whatever you're facing today, whatever difficult situation, whatever parts of this broken, fallen, evil world might be coming against you, be confident that even in the darkest valley, like David said, the rod and the staff of God are protecting and guiding you. and that you can have comfort, you can have peace in your soul, and that you don't have to live under the weight of fear. I love what it says in verse 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. And this idea is that David could have peace and a sense of victory, an overflowing cup, even in the presence of people that wanted to harm him. Perhaps in your work situation or in your school situation, you know that there are people that are out to get you. We've all faced this in different situations in life. People that you're in conflict with, people that, for a lack of a better word, they represent the enemies that you need to learn to be kind towards as a Christian. And they're these people that are opposed to you, adversarial in their relationship to you. And what David is saying is that you can have peace even in the presence of those people, because God is the one who protects and preserves your life. And so we get to have a fearless attitude, even in the presence of those that would want to do us harm, because God is with us. His rod and his staff, they comfort us. And David knew this because he was a shepherd. He was one who had to fight the lion and the bear. And those lessons learned as a shepherd, those were the very ones he took into his battle with Goliath, and he was able to have confidence when he faced his foes and faced his enemies, because he knew God was with him, just as he as a shepherd was with his flock. And so let's close there, a moment of prayer, and then I'm going to give us our challenge for the day. So Father, I thank you that your rod and your staff, they comfort us. I thank you that they deliver us and guide us. I thank you that you protect us from our enemies, Lord, and that you anoint our head with oil. Thank you that that is the sign of our consecration before you. Thank you that you fill our cup to overflowing, that there is abundance even in the midst of those that would be our adversaries and our enemies. Thank you for your protection. Thank you that your goodness and your mercy, they follow us all the days of our lives, and that we dwell in your house forever. God, thank you for all these blessings. Thank you for all these things that are true, not just about how you related to David, but how you relate to us, that truly we do not want. And we do not need to fear in the darkest valley, because you, God, are with us. And so I want to challenge us today and leave us with a challenge as always. Just as in our last video, the challenge was to think about that transition into eternity and the reality that for the believer, it is now a promotion, that we don't have to fear death. I want you to consider today, what are the adversarial relationships where maybe I fear a person, I fear their accusation, or I fear their opinion of me. And we've all had these in different seasons. And I want us to meditate and consider, what does it mean to experience God's leadership and guidance, where God is protecting us, even in those situations where people may be opposing us, and learn to fear that we don't have to fear any person when we know that God is with us. So consider and meditate on today, where is it that I'm facing an adversary that might put fear in my heart? And this could be an actual person, or it could be a metaphorical giant. It could be a spiritual enemy, something that's been harassing, something that's been plaguing, something that's been causing challenge. And how can I invite God to comfort me with his guidance and protection in the midst of whatever situation you're facing, whatever enemy might be besetting you? So be blessed today, and remember to tune in tomorrow, and remember to like and share this content. Thanks so much.